The Lost World of Agharti, Episode 2.
Explorers of the Hollow Realms, from India to Tibet.
What draws sober magistrates, missionaries, artists, and mystics to the world's highest roof with the same whispered question? Where does the path go when it disappears into the mountain? Across 2 centuries, travelers returned with fragments of the same story. Tunnels, hidden masters, cities of light, each account different, yet strangely aligned. Were they chasing a mirage, or following a thread that leads beneath the skin of the earth? Hold that question. Now we follow the seekers.
The lineage of seekers.
Before satellites and high-altitude jets flattened mystery into weather maps, the inner Asia of the imagination was a living atlas of thresholds. Pilgrims in India spoke of cave temples and serpent-guarded sanctuaries. Lamas in Tibet hinted at valleys that open only for the virtuous. By the 19th century, a procession of outsiders, judges, Jesuits, scholars, painters, went looking. Their motives varied, but their reports braided into a single motif. There exists a hidden order, and it is accessed through the earth itself. Alec McClellan gathers this procession and shows how, taken together, their stories give shape to the legend of Agharti Shambhala, not as a single address, but as an operating idea, a refuge of wisdom, concealed yet near.
Louis Jacolliot, a French magistrate, hears a whisper.
Who he was, a 19th century French judge posted in India, steeped in law by profession and legends by proximity. What he claimed, Jacolliot reported priestly traditions of Agarttha, a secret sacerdotal center linked by underground corridors, a sanctuary of primeval science and ethics. He wrote of subterranean networks threading beneath temples and mountains, of guardians who kept the sciences of the ancients out of profane hands. Why it mattered. Jacolliot stood at a crossroads, rational officialdom on one side, living myth on the other. His prose often reads like a bridge between those worlds, attempting to translate esoteric rumor into civic language. Critics note his romantic tendencies and second-hand sourcing. Admirers note he was among the first to name Agartha in a European tongue. What remains after critique? The pattern. India preserves an initiatory geography where caves equal classrooms. Wisdom is stored in stone, not on display. Missionaries in the high country, Huc and Gabet. Who they were: French Lazarist missionaries Évariste Huc and Joseph Gabet, who crossed Mongolia and Tibet in the 1840s. What they heard: hints of a hidden kingdom, Shambhala, set beyond normal routes, guarded by doctrine and destiny rather than walls. They described monastic communities for whom seclusion is pedagogy and silence an index of truth. Why it mattered. As outsiders, they were witnesses with limited access and an acute ear. Their journals showed Europe a Tibet where religion and terrain are the same subject, and where stories of hidden sanctuaries are shared without anxiety, as naturally as talk of weather and harvest. The takeaway: even those hostile or indifferent to esotericism had to admit the ubiquity of the motif in local speech. There is somewhere else, near yet far, and it opens only by right means.
Theosophy's Crucible, Blavatsky and the Masters.
What happened next? In the late 19th century, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky and the Theosophical movement wove Eastern threads with Western occult hunger. The result was a doctrine of hidden adepts, the Mahatmas or Great White Brotherhood, who operate from remote retreats, often placed in Tibet or the Himalayas, sometimes explicitly in subterranean fastnesses allied to Agharti Shambhala. Why it mattered, Theosophy gave the scattered rumors a framework, not only that hidden teachers exist, but that their purpose is to steward human development through cycles. It normalized the idea that such guardians withhold more than they reveal to protect the timing of truth. Caveat: syncretism can distort. But the effect was catalytic. A whole generation of seekers now had categories and an itinerary.
Ferdinand Ossendowski, Beasts, Men, and Gods.
Who he was: a Polish-born traveler who fled the Bolsheviks across Mongolia and the Gobi, publishing Beasts, Men, and Gods, 1922. What he reported: tales heard from lamas and princes about Agartha, a vast subterranean realm ruled by the king of the world. He wrote of prophecies, of subterranean corridors, of a hidden power whose benign interference shapes history when chaos peaks. Why it resonated. The book arrived into a world reeling from war and revolution. Here was a narrative that said, there is a center, there is a council. Order exists, though out of sight. Ossendowski's writing is equal parts diary, reportage, and fable. Scholars dispute his sources. Yet the imagery, bell-like sounds from the earth, sanctuaries beneath sands, a concealed sovereignty, stamped itself on the Western imagination. What to keep? Again, the pattern. A conserved wisdom beneath open conflict, access through ordeal, withdrawal as guardianship.
Nicholas Roerich, the painter of Shambhala.
Who he was: a Russian artist-mystic who led expeditions 1920s-30s across the Altai and into Tibet, recording visions and dialogues in works like Altai Himalaya and Heart of Asia. What he sought: Shambhala, not as folklore, but as a living axis, the spiritual pole of a world in transition. Roerich gathered prophecies of a coming renewal issued from the hidden kingdom. He treated Shambhala as a moral geography whose light refracts in culture, art, and statesmanship. Why it mattered. Roerich's testimony was less sensational than suggestive. He described signs, skylights, omens, teachings, more than maps. He emphasized worthiness over wayfinding. One reaches the hidden land by becoming the kind of person to whom it reveals itself. Enduring note: Shambhala, Agharti, appears as ethics spatialized. The kingdom's first gate is character.
Alexandra David-Neel and the Yogic Underground.
Who she was: a Belgian-French explorer and scholar who lived among Tibetan communities and wrote of advanced practices, tummo, inner heat, lunggampa, trance-walking, and severe hermitic retreats often housed in caves. Why it matters here. David-Neel didn't write Agharti on her maps. Instead, she demonstrated the cultural normalcy of going underground, physically and spiritually, to kindle transformation. In this world, caves are laboratories, and mountains are monasteries. The mythic underworld and the meditative interior become indistinguishable. The bridge she built, from legend to method. The underworld is no longer only a story, it is a discipline.
Patterns in their testimony.
Across these travelers, judge, missionary, occultist, refugee, artist, ascetic, the same shapes recur. Entrances, temple crypts, cave mouths, hidden valleys, beyul, polar imaginaries, desert sinkholes. Keepers, lamas, sadhus, hermits, veiled masters, prophetic texts. Tests, fasting, silence, storms, political danger, spiritual vows. Cities, luminous, ordered, library dense, sometimes audible as subterranean hum, sometimes visible as visions. Purpose: preservation of law, science, and compassion during dark cycles, selective aid to the Sufis. Ethic, restraint, secrecy, timeliness. When McClellan lays these patterns side by side, the legend gains legitimacy by consilience. Many witnesses, different angles, one silhouette.
Why the myth gripped colonial explorers and theosophists?
A frank reckoning requires two lenses. Projection. Europe in the age of empire often cast its anxieties and longings onto the mystical East. Hidden kingdoms promised absolution from modern disenchantment, a counter-myth to mechanized war and bureaucratic faithlessness. Recognition. At the same time, travelers encountered real traditions that do frame wisdom as hidden, guarded by oaths, accessed by fitness. It isn't purely projection if local cosmologies already speak this way. The myth met material practices, monasteries built into cliffs, underground retreats, oral lineages that avoid publication. The grip came from the overlap, a Western hunger for the sacred finding genuine Eastern vocabularies of seclusion and initiation.
Skepticism, fraud, and the remainder.
Yes, there are embellishments, conflicting itineraries, mistranslations, and outright inventions in this literature. But even when you subtract the provably false, the motif persists, embedded in living traditions. Skepticism is useful, reduction is not. The remainder after critique is a durable structure. Wisdom is conserved through withdrawal. Depth, literal or metaphorical, is the condition of access. Return carries a mandate to guard what you received without cheapening it.
The Agharti connection, from tunnels to doctrine.
Across India's cave temples, Tibetan beyul, Mongol prophecies, and theosophical synthesis, Agharti emerges as the name that gathers, a center under mountains or deserts, a hierarchy of masters sworn to non-tyrannical guidance, a library of sciences that bind ethics to power, a policy of concealment until cycles shift. McClellan's point is not that every reported entrance leads to the same map grid, but that the grammar of Agharti gives coherence to centuries of scattered testimonies.
Cross-cultural harmonies.
India, Patala and Naga lore, subterranean realms luminous, not damned, energy coiled, not crushed. Tibet, Shambhala as the Dharma's ark, beyul that open in troubled times. Islamic, Sufi, Qutba, the hidden pole, and the hierarchy of Awliya, friends of God, directing history quietly. Jewish, Kabbalah, hidden Tzaddikim, the 36 just men, sustaining the world unseen. Christian, Celtic, Avalon and the Grail Castle, withdrawn until the worthy arrive. Indigenous Americas, ant people who sheltered humanity underground, Sipapu emergence portals. Different metaphors, same assurance, wisdom survives out of sight.
Philosophical reflection.
What are these explorers teaching us, even when we dispute their details? That reality has depth, not just breadth. That secrecy can be a form of stewardship rather than ego. That fitness matters. Character is the key that turns hidden doors. That myth is not the enemy of truth, but its older clothing. Whether you read Agharti literally, symbolically, or as a braid of both, the instruction is the same: become deep. Let your interior life grow sufficient to host the temple you're asking the world to reveal. They came back with different names: Aghartha, Shambhala, the city of the king, the valley that opens. Yet the council was unanimous. There is more than the map shows. Some travelers embellished, some misunderstood, a few may have invented. But the mountain does not care. It keeps its doors for those who meet its terms. So the question returns to us. If a hidden kingdom still exists, beneath rock, beneath ice, beneath the surface mind, what daily vow would make you ready to find it? This is Positive Vortex. If this journey clarified a thread you felt all your life, like the episode So Others Find It, subscribe for the next chapter in the series and share your reading in the comments. Explorer's Mirage or Enduring Refuge, or both? If long-form ad-light dives matter to you, tap thanks or join to support the work. Next time, we follow the aviator whose name turned rumor into headlines, Admiral Byrd, and ask again what lies beyond the poles.